When I'm painting mountains or rocks, it helps me to visualize things by breaking them down into simpler shapes first. And with mountains, the most basic shape that you can break it down to is a triangle. And if I just think of it as a flat singular shape and repeat it, I can help to create in my mind's eye a mountain range or a series of peaks. And this is essentially how I would begin painting them too, by just blocking in this larger overall shape. Now, a single triangle by itself can be split from the top down, and using two different colors, I can create the illusion of light and shadow and quickly create a two-dimensional form. And again, repeating that with several of these same shapes, I can help visualize a mountain range in 2 dimensions. And that's what I'll do to start this painting. So let's apply this to some actual painting. I'll work on a 9x12 canvas board that I've primed with raw sienna, and underneath my mountains I've did a quick landscape gradient with titanium white, primary blue, burnt umber, and light green permanent. I'll sketch out those same basic triangular shapes for the purpose of this demonstration here. I'm combining white and blue, which is the same as my sky color, and then adding a little bit of umber to get that light brown value. And I'll just use that as a base color for this overall mountain silhouette shape. I'll get a little bit darker here, so leaning into a little bit more blue and umber. And I'll use my illustrated guide to give me an idea of where some of these shadows could be. And I'll start shaping them in those same places. Now, I'm not just painting them as rectangles with hard lines. I kind of intentionally want loose, sloppy brush strokes just to create some unplanned edges and shapes within my mountains here. So I'll alternate from that shadow color back to a lighter color and start to build in smaller brush strokes that represent more surface, more rocks, more plains. And you'll notice whether I'm painting with my light values or my darker values, my brush strokes tend to follow the angle of the mountain face that I'm painting. And building up the amount of brush stroke and slight variety of color values, I can start to create the illusion of all sorts of different rock surfaces and planes that are catching different amounts of light. So with each pass, I have more and more brush stroke, more variety of color value. And here I'm kind of melting my mountains into my foreground and softening that edge a little bit. So the amount of detail keeps increasing with each layer, and I try to chisel out where some of these rock surfaces can be, alternating from light to dark. I can play around and decide where some of those edges can be. More softening into my foreground. I did a quick pass here in the foreground to darken it up a little bit. And now I get some nice bright highlights on there. Trying to decide where the light is hitting, and some nice dark shadows just to create one last bit of contrast. So depending on the size of your painting, the amount of detail and the amount of color variety can vary, but this simple translation from very simple shapes into something more complex can be a helpful way to approach a painting. Thanks for watching this video. You can check out more of my work at petekornowski.com, and you can find some other work that I've shared on Instagram at Pete Kornowski.